Now, a lot of people want to know why the Knights Templar was wiped out, even though we know they're back now, but it's not the same. Now, as I said, the Knights Templars was not against Islam because members of the Knights Templar was Muslims. Understand that there was Muslims in the Knights Templar. So I want to read from this thing that's talking about the membership, historical fact. Authentically, the original Knights Templar rejected the idea of the Crusades as supposedly being to eliminate Muslims or eradicate Islam. This historical fact is proven by the Temple Rule of 1129 AD, in which the Templar order criticized that the Crusades did not do what it should, that is to defend, but strove to plunder, despoil, and kill. Rule 2, it clearly specified that the only real purpose of temple warfare was to remove from the land enemies of Christ, not to kill Muslims, Rule 14. And the original Latin says only to strike enemies, providing no specific intent to kill, Rule 57. Quite contrary to popularized misconceptions, the Templars fully understood that Muslims were not necessarily enemies, that the real enemies of Christ could be even evildoers pretending to be Christians, and that the enemies of Christ were generally the same as the enemies of Islam. Indeed, evildoers are essentially the enemies of all faith, opposed to the principle of religion itself, and are thus the enemies of God. Therefore, the Templars were never crusaders against Muslims and did not agree with any such philosophy. Rather, the Knights Templar were holy warrior monks fighting for good against evil, regardless of which religion may or may not be involved. The most conclusive evidence that Muslims were in fact accepted in membership in the Templar order was codified in the Temple Rule of 1129 AD, which was expanded by the later hierarchical rules added from circa 1150 to 1250 AD. One key amendment, circa 1200 AD, specifically provides if a brother goes out from the house and enters into another religion, it would do no harm if he returns to rejoin the house, but he will not be held by anything that to that religion, nor to us also, for he has returned from the one and from the other. Rule 630. Now you can see here it says Knights of the Order of Saladin, which was a Muslim Templar. So you have to take away from this and understand you had Muslims in the Knights Templar. The main reason for that, as I said, was because this whole thing was for Rome to basically go and get rid of people who was against this Pope. And since they were using Muslims and using Christians, of course, it didn't matter who was in. And we know like the Knights Templar was kind of like a secret service, was supposed to be a secret service kind of sort of for the Pope. But they was good, as you can read, and this is the reason why they was wiped out, because they wasn't really, I mean, they knew all the dirty stuff. They did all the dirty work, they knew a lot of stuff, and they wasn't really going for exactly what the Pope was trying to do down the road. And yeah, they was wiped out, but you know, they came back and they are today exactly what Rome wanted them to be back then, and we're going to get into that because it has a lot to do with Islam.